Good morning, everyone. Oh, okay, we're recording. For those of you who are joining us later, good day to you. I don't know when you're going to watch this, but it's cool. So I'm Katrina, and Nisha's going to unmute her microphone. Cough, cough, hint, hint. There we go. So we are both pastors in the North American division, just not in Canada. So I'm currently, as he mentioned, I actually live in Redding, California, which is like 20 minutes away from Palo Cedro. And then Nish is in Bloomington?
Burnsville,
Close
Minnesota. Yeah, close enough. But my church
starts with a B.
Yeah, Richfield, Bloomington area, near Minneapolis, right by Mall of America.
Right by Mall of America, y'all. She's over there riding those rides and buying things. No, okay, well, whatever. Anyways, so we were invited to come and talk to you guys about how to do teams, how to build teams, how to find people for teams, how to do ministry as a team. And so I want to share just a little with you guys about Nisha and I before we get into that. As Pastor Francis mentioned, we have been friends for a while now. We met while we were both in seminary. And we have, we've worked together for way longer than I would have personally thought, because apparently time just continues forever. And since 2020 was about 15 years, we've been friends for quite some time. During that time, we've been able to travel for the North American division, doing trainings in children's ministries. And then, graduation happened, and for some reason we didn't just get to stay together and do anything we wanted together forever. That pole stretching across both of our houses is not quite a thing yet. We're working on it. But for now, we're doing ministry in separate places, and technology is letting us still, stay connected and stay best friends. And that's kind of my jam right now. So, did I miss anything, Nisha? Any other things they should know about us before we blow their minds?
Well, let's just say that we are partners in crime and ministry. There's a crime aspect to it. And yeah, we've come with X amount of experiences. So Pastor Katrina was actually a teacher before becoming a pastor. And for me, I was that traditional theo major, but I was always in children's ministries growing up. So we have a good amount of experiences as, in children's ministries and youth ministries. And yeah, I think that's all.
Yeah. So I will say this, we have, and we talked a little bit about this beforehand. I'm sorry, guys, I've got some allergies happening and it's doing a thing with my eyes. So I'm not crying about how happy I am to be on this Zoom with Nish. I'm just crying about how happy I am. No. So we have both done ministry in a variety of ways, VBS, children's church, Sabbath schools. We've done a lot of ministry, and we've both done ministry together. Like, we've done ministry just the two of us, where we were the entire dream team. We have done ministry separate, where we were literally just individuals trapped in a world with 15 teenagers. Never as fun as they make it sound on TV. And we have also been able to work with some amazing people doing ministry as a team. And so we kind of have seen the full spectrum. So I don't know where you guys are at in your ministry experience. If you're like part of an amazing team already, amen, praise God for it. If you're like, I am honestly moments away from completely giving up because I cannot do another year of ministry by myself, so glad that you're here. So glad that you're joining us, because I think we're going to be able to give you some hope, some light at the end of that tunnel. wherever you're at in the spectrum, I think this is going to be a good opportunity for you. So we're going to jump in, and I'm not going to make you take off your video, but you are going to need to unmute yourself, because I'm going to need you to tell us your name, where you're currently serving. So I'm the Pathfinder director at blah, 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 or I'm the youth Sabbath school teacher at blah, 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 or I don't know, I just really want to serve at blah, blah, blah. And then one real life superhero, like somebody who you absolutely feel like is a hero in your life. And then who is your favorite individual hero, and who is your favorite hero team? My favorite hero team is the Avengers, but Batman is not my favorite individual superhero, actually. That goes to Black Widow. She is my favorite superhero. So I'm gonna go to a quick little thing, and the way that this is gonna work is that I'm just gonna randomly call on people if you don't raise your hand or unmute or something. So you might want to think about if you want to go on your own choice, or if you want to.
Remember, Pastor Katrina was a teacher.
I am really good at making this uncomfortable for everyone. All right, Nish, why don't you tell them your favorite hero while they think about whether or not they want to raise their hand?
All right, well, just like Trina, I am an Avenger fan, Team Marvel. And my individual hero is actually, I would say Black Panther, because I got my Black Panther mask actually here, for the culture. However, last year I could say that my favorite hero is actually Captain Marvel. There's a saying that she said that resonated with me in my ministry, where she had her hand behind her back, and those who've seen it, my favorite quote was like, "I've been fighting with one hand. Let's see what happens when I'm finally set free." So that's something that I loved a lot. That's my thing is Captain Marvel.
That actually, she did a really good job in that part. Of owning her full identity and being who she was. That was kind of awesome. So I'm with you on that one. All right, let's see. Amarissa?
Yeah, so my name is Amarissa Reed. I am currently a part of the AY department and communications department at Mount Gilead. One real life hero in my life is my mom. I really love her, and she likes to help me with a lot of things. My favorite individual hero would be the Falcon, and my favorite hero team would be Marvel as well.
Team Marvel? Yeah, that totally makes sense. The Avengers are kind of amazing. All right, good. Let's see. Who else do we have? Shalia? Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Shalia.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
My name is Shalia. I'm serving at Really Living Seventh-day Adventist Church. I don't have a favorite hero. And team would be I don't have one either. No.
Okay. Cool. All right. Let's see. Sean Anthony. Sean Anthony. No. How about Kanisha?
Hi, good morning. My name is Kanisha. I am serving at the Toronto Perth Seventh-day Adventist Church. Real life hero would be definitely, I have two, my mom and my sister. I look up to them a lot, for sure. And I don't have a favorite individual hero, but my favorite hero team would be Fantastic Four. Yeah.
Okay. Random fun fact, Kanisha, my college roommate actually went to Toronto Perth back then. I don't know if she's still there, but yeah, when we were at Andrews.
Oh, wow.
Lisette Morris.
Yes, Lisette. Oh my gosh, I love Lisette.
Oh, absolutely. I completely get that. Yeah, she was my girl for 4 years. She put up with me as a roommate. So I absolutely love her.
Oh my gosh.
All right, Janice. Janice.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. My name is Janice. I am currently serving at Toronto Central. Real life hero has to be my mom. She's tough, she's strong, and she raised some beautiful children who are tough and strong as well. I think I'm way past in favorite hero team. I think I'm way past that. So I don't even know who's on right now. So if I were to choose from way back when, I would say Superman and what's, I don't know. I really do not know, but individual hero. I think there's too many just to pick a few, but I do give every shout out to every single mom out there who just holding it down for the children.
Absolutely. All right, Denalia.
My name is Denalia Frey. I'm serving at my university as well as at Holland Landing SDA Church. Real life hero, aside from my parents, I would say Michelle Obama. Favorite individual hero, I don't have one. Favorite hero team, probably The Incredibles, even though I'm not really into like superheroes, but yeah.
That's okay. All right. Darren. No, Darren. Okay, David.
I'm David Rogers. I'm serving at the Untitled Adventist Church, and my real life hero is was my dad, and my favorite individual hero, whether fictional or real, it's got to be Superman, you know. And my favorite hero team, probably the Chicago Bulls.
They're pretty strong. That's a good call on that one, I would say. All right. So, and I'll give you guys this heads up. So there are some things that I have learned the hard way and some things that I have not. I learned the hard way that you have to have a favorite superhero, because boys will ask you, and if you don't have an answer, they'll say, okay, but if you did have a favorite superhero, who would it be? Like, just straight up, just so you guys know. So start preparing yourself for where you want that opinion to be in the world, because you will get that question a lot in youth ministries, probably not as much as in children's ministries, where third graders don't understand I'm not answering that question, but just be prepared for it. So we're going to go ahead and jump in to what we're looking at. This is going to be 4 steps for creating a dream team. And I want to start by taking a look at a step that we probably don't think a lot about. So here's what we're going to do. Nish, I can't see you, so I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. Oh, Darren was answering in the comments and we weren't. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so we're gonna play a game, and what I need you to do to start this game is think of an animal in your head. Think of an animal. Keep thinking. Okay. Everybody have your animal? Thanks, Pastor Francis.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and play the game. No. Anybody? Woof, woof. Niche, what does that even mean? I'm pretty certain the animal in your head is an otter.
I changed my mind.
You're not allowed to do that. So how fun is this game? Let me just ask that question. How much fun is that game? Anybody here that was like, oh, this is the best game I've ever played? No, I didn't think so. Oh, Nisha, you're supposed to do the.
Yeah, I'll take it from here. So I see it's, so I know this is not the best game. And I guess the question is, how many of us were radically confused by this game? Okay, I see a thumbs up from, okay, I see thumbs up. Okay, good. All right. So here's the reality. This shows that normally whenever we draft people, when we assign people to be in certain positions, we throw them into positions without giving them rules and expectations, right? It's that awkward moment. It's kind of like, man, I wish I had like a baby for an example, like when they say, hey, so who's interested in doing, in teaching Sabbath school? And then someone's like, hey, I'm willing to do Sabbath school, yada, yada, yada. And then all of a sudden they throw you into a room full of kids. They close the door. They say, there's a book that's lying on the table. Have at it. Godspeed. Enjoy. I will see you in 45 minutes. How many of us have ever experienced that before? And you don't know what to do. Yes. And they say, I'll pray for you. I'll pray for you. We'll pray together. Pray for the Lord of the harvest to provide for the helpers needed, yada, yada, yada. So it's that the reality is that the reason why a lot of people, they start and then they leave immediately or within a matter of months because they did not receive any clear rules or expectations of the positions that they are fulfilling. And which is why it's important for us to have these expectations and roles. So if I say, okay, I need you as a Sabbath school teacher, what is the expectations of a Sabbath school teacher besides keeping kids alive and making sure no teenagers ditch Sabbath school or children's, like, okay, not children's ministries, but youth ministries, there's an inside joke between Katrina and myself. We basically say that the chances are we don't want any teenagers to be making out in the bathroom. That's our ultimate goal, is to make sure nobody makes out.
Or guys.
Like,
you want to leave with the exact people that you came with for any event.
You don't want to do a baby dedication in the next 9 months. So that is like, it's those expectations. As a Sabbath school teacher, what is your goal? Okay, not just only teaching Sabbath school, but giving our youth, giving our people, like giving those that you're ministering to a worthwhile experience in Sabbath school, in youth group, in AY, instead of just reading from a script, because anybody can do that. But if I say, hey, I want teachers that are willing to provide our teenagers, our youth, hands-on experiences, to say the least, That's what I want them to do. And then how to go about with those hands-on experiences. So what is your role? Your role as a teacher is to teach. Your role as a teacher is to build relationships with the youth. Your role is to basically be the mentor. And even like the expectations that we all have is, you know, as a pastor, my expectations for my leaders is to find someone that they're willing to mentor, so that when they leave after NomCom, that's something that we call nominating committee, after NomCom, we're expecting them that if they say, hey, I'm done, and if I say, okay, who is your replacement, then they can give you the names. So along with that, we also have the job descriptions. You know, after we have the clear expectations and roles, you have the job descriptions, because sometimes people get confused and they forget what their job description is. And it's important for us to have those job descriptions when it comes to volunteering, when it comes to having teams, because it causes people to stay in their lane. And I think, Pastor Katrina, you have a sample of a job description.
I do. Do I? No, I do. So just a quick note for you guys, if you're thinking to yourself, I don't have time to sit around writing job descriptions for all of the things that I need done. Advent Source actually has job descriptions for most of the ministries in our church. I would encourage you to go in there, and then when you get there, if you click on Ministry Plus, you can go through. They have a ton of free downloads that you can just click on AY leader, and it will pull up a job description that goes through and says, this is kind of the general feel of what you're supposed to be doing. Now, you may look at it and be like, no, because this does not include cleaning up after AY, and that is definitely something our AY leader should be doing. And so you may want to add something, or you may look at it and be like, no, we don't have them do that part of it. That's somebody else's responsibility. So you may have to tailor it a little bit more specifically to what you actually do in that ministry, but it's a good starting point. One of the things that Nisha and I have talked about a lot, when we do these workshops, I don't know about you guys, and I don't know how many of these things that you do, but Nisha and I have done enough that we have experienced the drinking from a fire hydrant thing that happens a lot, where they're like, here's all of this information, okay, bye, and you're like, I don't know. And so we want to make sure that we're giving you some very practical starting points as we go along. So I do have one of the things that I do for my for every member of my team, and I'll be honest with you guys, it feels more impressive than it is, because I also have a secretary. I'm just going to say that right up front, is each of our team members get a binder when they start working with a ministry. They get a binder, and in the binder, and this will be a good transition from job descriptions into the other stuff that we want to talk about. The very first thing that they get is a cute little one sheet. The one sheet has your basic duties. This is the basic stuff that we expect for you to do. Things like attending team meetings or participating in planning fellowship events, which are things that we expect our Sabbath school teachers to do outside of their hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is, Sabbath school that they do. And then mine also has contact information on the back of, okay, so I am a Sabbath school teacher, but I'm not the lead Sabbath school teacher. What happens if something happens on Sabbath morning and I need to call in reinforcements? Okay, well, your Sabbath school leader's phone number is on here. The overall children's ministries coordinator number on here. Youth pastor's number on here. We have what's called internal ministries for all of our Sabbath school women's ministries, men's ministries on here, so that at any point, if you as a volunteer are working through things and have questions, there are 5 people within reach of you that you can email, text, call to get those questions answered. And that's just a way to make sure that they know, number one, what it is we expect them to be doing. Number two, that they're not alone in this. It's so important. You know what it's like. If you've been working in ministry long enough, you know what it's like to do it alone. You know it can be frustrating, you know it can be exhausting, and you know you can genuinely feel like quitting pretty quickly. And so being able to say, hey, you are not alone in this. If you have questions, if you have concerns, here are people who are going to help you out. So that's one thing that's in here. We also focus on our mission and vision, and we start with our opening letter. The lead pastor and I write a letter to thank people for serving in our church, reminding them of what our mission as a church is and how their ministry fits into that mission. It is so important that people understand the why. There are probably jobs that you can go to and not necessarily know why you have to do this particular thing, but still be successful at doing it. Ministry is never going to be that job. If you don't understand why you're teaching Sabbath school, if it's just a program because, hey, it's 9:30 or it's 10 o'clock, and so we've had Sabbath school at this time forever, then you go in and you teach with that mentality, you will not make the impact that you make if you understand that we are inviting young people to walk with God. We are teaching them the discipleship habits necessary for them to be able to leave our church on Sabbath and go into a week walking with God throughout their week. And so it's important that you give that vision. That whole without vision, the people perish thing is real. It is very easy when you're in the trenches to forget why you're there. And if you forget why you're in the trenches, it's very much easier to just get out. Okay. So then the other thing that it's very important that you do is have policies and procedures in place. And Nish talked briefly about one of them. I want to talk about another. I want to elaborate actually on that one because it's the first policy and procedure that you need in place when you're leading a ministry, and that is your onboarding process. What does it look like to go from recruiting a volunteer to actively engaging somebody in ministry? What is your process for that? And a lot of times that process, I'm going to be honest, and you can literally raise your hand right now if you want to try to tell me that I'm wrong. But I bet you anything that your onboarding process consisted of a phone call or conversation with a member of nominating committee, possibly a prayer of dedication at church. Mm-hmm. Good luck, Godspeed. We'll see you in 50 years when you die. That's generally what it looks like. You get thrown into the deep end and we're like, have fun with it. Shifting our minds from that is super important, okay? So I will give you an example. In my church, we start out with interests. We start out with a list. My Sabbath school teachers will say, we need 2 new assistants and 1 new teacher. These are some people in our ministries, in our church that we've noticed are really good with kids. We heard a rumor that so-and-so is a teacher. This person has worked with kids in the past, but stopped because they had kids or they retired or some other reason, but this may be a good time for them to get back into ministry. The first thing that they do is not get a phone call from nominating committee. They get invited to come in and test the waters. They get invited to have a conversation about what is the expectation. Oh, let me stop. They get invited to fill out a background check. Let me start there. You do not get access to my kids until you have completed the background check. And we'll talk a little bit later about why that is. But that's the first thing. They get invited to do the background check, sit down, have a conversation with me, and then we'll test the waters. We'll put you in the room. We'll see how you do with some of the other teachers, get a feel for how you get into the mix. Come back, have a debrief conversation. How did it go? What did you think? How did you feel? we're going to have you in that classroom a couple more times with teachers looking at, okay, how do you plan lessons? Okay, where do I even get that supply from? Because you brought that in real easy. Hi, which donut place is actually the donut place the kids like? Because I noticed last week's donuts did not get eaten. Okay, you're going to have a couple of times to be able to go through that before we put you in for your first teaching experience. We also always make sure that the expectation is communicated that this is for a 1-year term, which means at the end of that year, you are more than welcome to opt out, and so are we. I say that especially for those of you who are working in churches where there is some dearly beloved member who has been doing youth ministry since before you were alive, which is why they have to be allowed to continue with their mediocrity. I encourage you to remind them, we don't have to vote you in next year. It does not matter how long you have been working in ministry, we evaluate every year, okay? So that's kind of the policy that needs to be in place. You want to have procedures for what if a teacher gets sick? What if the person who's supposed to be reading scripture doesn't show up? Who's actually in charge of making sure that the program flows quickly? Is it you or is it your assistant? Who are they supposed to be contacting in various situations? What if the church does in fact get set on fire? Please don't set your churches on fire. Just say that one. So you want to have all of those policies in place. My mom is calling me. She's in the house, Niche. She and I are in the same house. Okay, she stopped calling me. So I think we're good now. All right, so here's what we're going to do here. We're going to stop for just a moment because like I said, we don't want to do the weird fire hydrant thing. And we're going to talk about a couple of, okay, so you guys just said I need expectations and job descriptions and you need to communicate the mission and the vision and I need all of these policies. So I don't have any of that in place and I'm not about to drive myself crazy. What's the first thing I should do? So we're going to talk for just a second about some first steps, and we'd really, really like some communication from you for, you know, any questions that you might have. What have you done or experienced or seen that you were like, guys, this was the best way anybody ever gave me a job description, or this is the absolute worst way I ever found out my job description. They were trying to fire me and they made a list of all of these things that I was supposed to be doing. So couple of first steps for you guys. If you have not already, number one, make a list of your dream team. Make a list of, okay, in an ideal world, what would our staff look like? Would, for example, if you're a Pathfinder director, your ideal world is not you running every single thing, okay? Having an assistant director who's only responsible for clerical, having this many counselors, having this many teachers, having this many camp rangers, whatever it is, okay? Now, I will be honest with you, when I do my list is a dream team list. As a pastor, one of the things on my list, because like I said, I have a secretary. Guys, I do not have a secretary that is paid by the church. I have a secretary because it was on my list of positions in my dream team. Prayed about, God, I really need you to send someone who can keep track of all of these dates, communications, and all of that stuff, who can, quite frankly, organize my receipts when it's time to turn them in, so that I'm not just handing my treasurer a wad of papers, because she really doesn't like that. And I had a volunteer come forward and say, oh, if that's all you need, I can do that. Now, if I'm thinking about it and saying, okay, well, I just need somebody to run Sabbath school, I just need somebody, that's not going to be on the list. That's why I say it needs to be that dream team list of genuinely, honestly, this would be the most amazing team to have in place, okay? So that's one. Number two, make a list of procedures that you already have in place, whether they are one, actual written down procedures, even if it's you got them literally out of the church manual, or two, implied procedures, because that's the way we've done it since forever. It's important to know, even with your tradition procedures, the ones that are implied, that people just kind of have to learn the culture to understand. It's important to know what they are, because sometimes those implied procedures are not actually the procedures that we want. And so owning that and recognizing that, you have to, the first step is admitting that you have a problem, guys. It is. Okay. Nish, anything else from you on this before we open it up for questions?
I think I think that's basically all I was thinking, was just the policy and procedures, making sure that you have your dream team, and we're going to talk more about like how to select your dream team, because we don't want you to invite your family, especially if your family attends the church. You don't want this to be a family affair, because unless if you are operating from a place of being objective and not subjective, because I know like the sad part is when we try to recruit people, we tend to get people from our family.
Mm-hmm.
And then so when things happen, when there's conflict, we tend to take the side of our family, and then boundaries are fluid. So you want to be intentional as to who, or even your homie from college, unless if they've proven time and time again that they are a sure thing, that they are a keeper. That's something, and it gets intimidating, like, getting like for a new volunteer, getting to a ministry, and then basically everybody knows each other.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody grew up together in the mother's room or in the nursery, and so it's like it's that hard factor. So yeah, communication is key.
Yeah. All right. Do you guys have any questions for us about how to create the right team environment? I'm trying to scroll through and make sure I don't have anybody who's like randomly. Also, Darren, I did see your chat. Thank you for putting that in the chat, because I was not paying attention well.
I do not have a question per se. It's Janice.
Hi, Janice.
But based on what you've said so far, very intriguing. It's quite unfortunate that we usually throw people out in ministry, and after 20 years realize it's not working, then we take them out. But I really like the fact that even if the nominating committee have thrown somebody or nominated somebody into position, say for example, as an AY leader, I like the fact that you mentioned that the AY leader or the team themselves could perform their own evaluation, have them come in, see if it's a fit, give you a time period as to a duration as to how long we expect you, or not even expect, but just a general evaluation to find out if it's not working. Because many a times we have teams, and out of 5 or 6 individuals, you may find only 2 or 3 fully functioning, and most of the others, they are nowhere to be seen. So that time period will give you an opportunity to perform your own evaluation. So if the team is not working, you could always scout out for different individuals within your team. So thank you so much for all the information that you have shared. I will definitely take it back to my team. I know it's too late to do evaluation because the term is almost up, but looking forward to next year. If I'm still around with our current team, these are some of the things we could put in place so our teams could be more functioning, and we'll be able to reach and retain our youth.
Yeah. Hey, Janice, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. First of all, your term is almost up. Do you guys have, I'm assuming you guys do terms by the fiscal year, so it starts a new term in July?
Oh no, it ends in December. So we halfway through the second term, the second year.
Okay, then this makes this even more. it's never too late to do evaluations. And we're going to talk this afternoon about doing evaluations, because one of the mistakes that we make is we feel like we need to be like a school system or a work system where your evaluation is full on pass fail. And if we look at evaluations as benchmarking of this is where we're at compared to where we're headed, it is never too late to do evaluations, especially this is the perfect time actually for you guys to be evaluating what you've done, because nominating committee is going to come back around, and it's the perfect time to say, hey, these are the people that we know if you ask them, they're going to come back and continue working in AY. These are the additional positions that we would like you guys to seriously consider helping us fill. And being able to communicate that, a lot of times nominating committee just gets kind of, here's the list. It's been the same list for the last 20 years. Just fill in names, guys. Whatever it takes to get somebody's name in that box. And if you as a leader can go in and say, we're looking for somebody who is blah, 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 blah. And we're specifically looking for these roles to be filled, that actually, and I've seen it several times where nominating committees who are genuinely like, I don't want to do this. The minute they know what you're looking for and what the job is, they're like, oh, you know who would be really good for that? And you suddenly have so many more people. Guys, one of the reasons that nominating committee is such a huge blessing in our church, when it's done right, let me say that, when it's done right, it should never be, let's throw these 10, 15 people in a room. Good luck, figure out how to fill in this box. It's not a worksheet, guys. The process is an organism. It's a living, breathing thing. And so when it's done right and they are prayerfully looking at the entire full cross section of the church, you're going to have people on nominating committee who know people in your church who you've never spoken to. And that may not be true if you're like in a church of 20 people. But when you're talking about a church of anything over 50 people, there are going to be people in your church that you don't know anything about. And nominating committee, when you get the full cross section and it's not just a popularity contest, you have people who are connected with all of those people in the church. And then they really can say, oh, well, so-and-so, you don't know them, but I know them because their kids go to school with my kids on the other side of town. And they're actually really, really good at social media stuff. If you're looking for a social media person, I totally think that they would help out. And all of a sudden, because it's not, you're asking someone to run AY, you're asking someone to just do social media for AY, or just organize skits for AY, or just do song service for AY. Things shift very quickly into, oh, now we didn't have anyone, and all of a sudden we have this amazing fully staffed team because they don't feel like they're doing all of it by themselves. So I would encourage you, like I said, this afternoon, we're going to talk a little bit more about evaluations, but I would encourage you that this is the perfect time to start evaluating. What have we done well? How have we connected our kids to Jesus? Where are we struggling? Which of our team members are not being used to their full potential? Those are questions you can be asking right now. Okay.
Amazing. One more question, though.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you perform an evaluation within your group without hurting people's feelings?
So yeah, and we're going to talk about that this afternoon. All of my teams know for a fact that January and February, they are going to have a team meeting that is literally an evaluation meeting. And so we'll talk about some of the specific questions that you ask to help us stay focused on what our vision and mission are versus our personal issues with people. Because there is a place for some of that extra drama. And I say extra drama because ministry has enough drama without people who are honestly just being petty. But a lot of those people, when you start to stay on mission and stay on message, a lot of those people get frustrated and leave anyway. So we'll talk a little bit about the evaluation process, what that looks like, both for your team. I do evaluations questions for my team as well as evaluation questions for individuals on the team. And so we'll talk about that this afternoon. I don't want to throw it off wrong because I want to make sure we're getting through the process properly. But I will say this, when you start with a strong environment, and they talk about this with teachers, especially classroom management. A lot of times when we talk about it, we're talking about the discipline aspect of what do you do when a kid is acting out of control. But when you plan it and create the right environment, a lot of the discipline issues stop. And the same thing happens when you're building your team. If you have clear expectations, strong job descriptions, very clear policies and procedures in place, including going through the process of holding people accountable, then a lot of those problems will work themselves out. So just be aware of that. Just be conscious of that it's not as simple as, yes, so you need to create the culture. You need to focus on what do I want? And these are the questions that I ask anytime I'm working on building, team building, or policies or programming or anything. My questions are, what do I want people to do? How do I want people to feel? And how do I want to empower people going forward? So those three questions are the ones that I ask when I'm building my Vacation Bible School team for the year. I'm like, okay, I need people to do this, 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 this. How do I want them to feel when I'm getting ready, when we're starting the process, when we're passing out information, when we're setting up on Sunday? As we go along, how do I want people to feel throughout the process? And then how do I want to empower them? And so as we go through that, as you create that environment, as you start shifting your thinking in that way, and I will say this because culture is kind of a big word, and culture is a long-term shift. I have yet to be in a church that does not have some cultural shift it needs to experience. Mm-hmm. If you try to fix the culture in a month, you will die. Mm-hmm. For lack of a better word, it's not going to happen. Okay. So I want us to shift our thinking away from, I need to change the whole world, to how am I approaching this? Because you will attract what you are. And we'll talk about that this afternoon too, of setting that example. But you attract the kind of person that you are. And so if you are hardworking and focused and compassionate and on message, you're going to attract people who are hardworking and focused and compassionate and on message. If you're petty and mean and don't really want anybody's help, you're going to do it all yourself and just play the martyr card, you're going to attract people who are petty and mean and don't want to do it all, just want to do it themselves so they can play the martyr card. So shifting how you're approaching it is super, super important, not only for your sanity and all of that, but also for your sustainability in ministry. Okay. Any other questions before we go on to the next step? All right. Step two, picking your dream team.
Picking your dream team. So I know for many of us, the biggest struggle that we all go through is recruitment. So I am going to just share with you just something that, one of our favorite go-tos of picking our dream team. So, all right, and action. So imagine yourself, this is church, this is Camp Meeting Church. So I'm going to simply just say, hello, happy Sabbath, everyone. This is Denise Thomas. I'm Pastor Thomas here, and I'm here to just talk to you guys about our youth ministries. You see, we are excited with a lot of things happening right now. And honestly, we have lost a couple of our leaders. And in other words, we are soliciting your prayers and most of all, volunteers. Because the sad reality that we are going through right now in our churches today is that our youth are leaving the church in droves. And I would like to just play we're just going to cue in some music just so we could intensify the greatest need for youth leaders in our youth ministries. A lot of stuff that we have found ourselves struggling is that in every single hour and minute, we are leaving the church, and I'm waiting on that sad puppy song by our pianist so that we can intensify the greatest need for our children. Our youth are counting on you. You see, our generation of young people are dying every single day, and they need to know who Jesus is. You can make a difference. The church, our youth, they need you. He is lost without you. Look, he's pointing at you right now. Do you want this child to walk away and get into the depth of the world because you choose not to be able to minister to these kids in need? I want your help today. For just 45 minutes a month, you can help change this child's needs today. For just 45 minutes a month, a week, to make an impact for our children today. We won't do this without you. Thank you. Now, how many of us have ever experienced this call from the church, especially during Youth Day? So, needless to say, we are going to talk to you guys about the 5 don'ts of recruiting. And first things first, do not be desperate. I know there is a talk where we say drastic times calls for desperate measures. And one of the sad realities is that if we recruit the way how we just did with the Arms of the Angel, you know, that here in America, we have the ASPCA, and you have these sad puppies looking behind, and you're like pushing towards that, and you're guilt tripping people. People are not going to be able to come and volunteer from a place of passion, but from a place of guilt. It's kind of like the persistent widow in the Bible gone wrong. And sometimes many of our churches, we are operating out of desperation and not discernment, and it shows and it's manifested. You're going to see people saying, well, you know, this person looked at me with their puppy eyes, and they begged me relentlessly to minister, to work with these kids. And honestly, I hate teenagers. I can't stand these all they want to do is to get on their phones. All they want to do is to just talk with their friends and yada 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 and whoop-de-woo. But
I don't know how to whip or nay.
I don't know. I mean, I can't even dad joke if I want to, like, or basically you get irritated. There's a couple other ones, you know, just put in a bulletin. Now we already know the people God don't read. We Adventist. Well, no shade. I mean, you expect them to read, and then people get mad saying, well, why didn't you tell me about this? We put it in a bulletin, we put it in the email, we put it on Facebook, we put cute little pictures, we did the upgraded and stuff. And even
knocked on the door of your house.
Yeah, like we give up because people said no, we do it all, and because of that, we do it by ourselves, and we abandon the new volunteers. And so these are the 5 don'ts, and we'll elaborate more about this eventually. But yes, when it comes to recruitment, discernment over desperation. In other words, one must be able to pray. Like their life depends on it when it comes to this ministry, because you want to be good stewards to your ministry, and you do not want to be desperate and taking on people, because guess what? Like what Pastor Katrina mentioned earlier about background checks, you've got to go through background checks, and the amount of people who have been recruiting individuals who have no business of working with children and youth, and they are running amok in our churches. And as the children's ministries director, of the Minnesota Conference, I'm not having it. I don't care how desperate you are. I mean, I'd rather be a one-man person than diving in and putting my churches in great danger for that reason. And plus, no, we're not doing the grace card. Yes, I'm a evidence of God's amazing grace, but at the same time, I believe in boundaries. I believe in consequences, and I also believe in the fact that we have to, of course, shield the vulnerable. We have to protect these people, and there's a lot of things that people, and plus also it's a liability to your churches. So imagine if I was really that desperate, is it really worth me putting on someone who had an experience of statutory rape, of sexual misconduct of any kind, to be working as a youth leader, working with my kids, working with my boys and my girls, only for your church's tithe dollars to go towards a lawsuit and a settlement?
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Pastor Carl. He said, absolutely not. Jesus did not die for us to be spewing those well-earned tithe dollars to protect a perpetrator, a pedophile, to be running amok in youth ministries. Yes, I went there.
You did. Am I jumping in now? Can I jump in now?
Go in.
Okay. So, yeah, so I will second that. The other reason that you don't put it in the bulletin, aside from the fact that people can't read, not because they can't read, they just don't want to. Especially, guys, we're going to stand up front and we're going to make the announcements anyway. So why would they need to read a bulletin? The other reason that you don't want to put it in the bulletin is, again, because, and not just if somebody is 15. Nish, I told you. Okay, not just because. I'm going to move on. The idea is that you want somebody who's going to be there, not because they feel guilty, not because they're like, if I don't do it, then we won't have Sabbath school. Okay, calm down. But because they genuinely feel called to minister. You also don't want to give up on people just because they said no. Fun fact, in sales, they tell you that it takes 7 no's to get to a yes. So that is number one. Don't give up on people just because they said no the first time, and don't give up on people just because a couple of people said no. Doing it all yourself stops other people from experiencing the blessing of ministry. You are actually robbing the people of God when you choose to do it yourself. I'm going to encourage you to accept and embrace that in your life, because it's not an easy thing to process, that like you're doing it all yourself and you're carrying the burden all of yourself and you feel like it's all, you're the victim. Listen, the real victims are all of those people who are sitting in this pew who don't get to know the incredible kids in your church, who don't get to experience the blessing of making a difference in their lives, who don't get that long-term benefit of having your kids. Guys, a few years ago, my first group of Pathfinders graduated from college. One of our teachers, one of them became the Pathfinder director, and somebody's opportunity to feel the kind of
Pastor Trina, I think you froze. Okay, that's awkward.
Kind of ironic for somebody who's really hot.
Yeah, it's that California heat. I don't know if she's going to come back on, but needless to say, I'm sure we've all had those experiences with trying to get people into various ministries, to say the least. And hopefully we'll be able to, we're going to talk more. Okay, and we lost her. So so later on this afternoon, we will actually expound more about, how do we actually put this into practice, to say the least. So let me see what else is there. So yeah, so
do you guys have the dues?
Yes, that's what we're going to be doing the dues. We're going to elaborate more on the dues for this afternoon. So that's
Okay.
where we put everything to practice. But we just wanted to just raise that awareness as to, it's kind of like you just got to like do some house cleaning, do some spring cleaning first before you add on and rebuild.
Yeah, sorry, I'm back really quickly. How much time do I have? 5 minutes?
You have till 12:15, so 10 minutes.
Okay, so I'm gonna go through this really quickly because I know Nisha's gonna get off in a minute. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened with my computer just now. It gave up. So the first thing, so when you are recruiting, the first thing that you want to do is think about the gifts that God has given people. Do not randomly throw people into ministry and you have no idea what their gifts are. In fact, I'm going to circle back for just a second on this. How many of you guys, raise your hand if a random person on the street could walk up to you and ask you for $100 and you would just give it to them? Okay. Raise your hand if your best friend called you and said they needed $100 for something very specific and you had $100 to give away. How many of you guys would give it to your best friend? Nisha has given me way more than $100 over the years, I'm going to be honest. She stays sending me Starbucks cards and presents. One of the first things that we need to understand when we're asking people to invest, whether it's money or time, we need to recognize that people invest in things they love. People give to what they love. The first thing we need for people is a relationship. And so when you're talking to people, the first conversation, and I say this with my kids all of the time, that we need to train people to say yes. And training people to say yes is a little bit Pavlovian in that you really do have to give them a lot of things that they're going to say yes to before you ask them for that big thing. So I will say, and it's a really fun reputation to have in my church, I have a reputation for if I say to you, hey, I would love to sit down and grab a coffee with you at Starbucks or grab some Jamba Juice or something, or Tim Hortons? Is that the Canadian one? Yeah, or grab some Tim Hortons with you or something. I have a reputation in my church of them being like, okay, she's about to ask for something. But I do it so often that it's really difficult to be like, no, I don't want free Jamba Juice. I don't want free Starbucks. Like nobody ever says that. Okay. So you start out with, hey, I just want to grab something to drink with you. You sit down with them and you have a conversation with them. What are they interested in? What do they love about your church? What do they do for a living? Ask those questions. And I never start out with, hey, I want to have a meeting with you at Starbucks to talk to you about leading song service for AY. Do you know why? Because quite frankly, if I get to that meeting and discover that this dearly beloved person is a terrible singer, I don't want to have backed myself into a corner where now it's pretty clear that I'm not asking you to serve in the position that I came here asking you to serve in. Okay. So it's always an open-ended conversation. It's always, hey, all I want to do is sit down and have this conversation with you. You sit, you talk, you sip something, and then you move on. And the move on is always, when I get to the end of it, I say, hey, we were thinking about you for whatever position it is. And I'm wondering if you would want to test it out by coming to some upcoming event and seeing how you feel with the rest of the team. Okay. So for me, we're really big right now on recruiting Sabbath school teachers. That's just kind of the phase we're in with youth ministries. Kids graduate and people move on and then you have to replace people. And so, my conversations are, hey, we are really looking for a couple of new teachers to come in. And we were thinking the kids really seem to like hanging out with you. You really have a strong understanding of the Bible. We're wondering if you would come in and assist one Sabbath next month. What does your schedule look like? All you have to do is show up. Somebody else is teaching. You're just there to assist. when they get there, when they go in. And Niche generally talks more about shadow me Sabbath, but when they come in to do their shadow, you want a couple of things. You want a really simple task for them to be successful at. Literally like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe I forgot to make the copy of this. Can you run down to the office and make this copy for me really quick? Or even easier, can you pass out these pencils and clipboards? Literally something that's so easy that them saying yes to it feels like, oh, well, duh, yeah, that's not hard. I can do that. Don't be weird about this. Okay. So you send them in to do this really tiny task. I prep my teacher that they're working with and let them know, hey, this person is coming in. So you need to be prepared to like really lay it on thick with how grateful you are for that tiny task that they just did. Like you need to say, thank you so much, like 3 or 4 times for the copies that they just brought you. You need to be like, oh, thank you so much as they go get it. And then when they bring the copies to you, oh, you are such a lifesaver. Thank you so much. And as you're passing them out to the kids, hey, and can we thank so-and-so for making these copies for us? Aren't they awesome? And then at the end of the program, hey, thank you so much again for your help. You did so great today. Seriously. Next, you need to have a kid, not one of your other volunteers. I'm going to be honest, it needs to be a kid because you look into their cute little eyes and they're like, hey, thanks so much for helping out today. It was cool. All right. So you have your kid go through and then you meet with them again for the second date. Second date, you sit down, still coffee, jamba, something low key, unless you really want to impress them and like take them to dinner. If you're going to take them to dinner and they have a spouse or a significant other, take them too. Okay. Sit down. Hey, what was that experience like for you? How did you feel in the class? How did you feel with the kids? What were you kind of thinking? And they may say, hey, actually, that was terrifying. And I don't ever want to be left alone with those kids. They may say that. And then you get to say, okay, well, actually we have a ton of ministry opportunities in youth ministries. So where do you kind of feel your jam? Where do you feel good? And that gives them the opportunity to say, well, I would say yes to this or that. Okay. Or then it does give you the chance to do the ask and say, hey, totally, let's get you set up to be a teacher in that class. Go through the onboarding process and all of that stuff. Another really great option for those of you who have done ministry fairs in the past, I will tell you a couple of necessary elements if you're going to do a ministry fair. Number 1, there needs to be food. If you have a ministry fair at your church that does not contain anything edible, you do not have people showing up to your ministry fair. Okay. Number 2, it needs to be low stress. People need to feel like when they show up, it is not you put your name down as interested in greeter, and now you're officially a greeter. That you can go around and talk to people. We always do a theme. So in August, we're doing a ministry fair and it's literally fiesta theme. So it's going to be a taco bar. All of the booths will be set up with information, but make it something that's super fun and engaging and not the official way that you are forced to become a member of something or people will not show up. Okay. And then don't be afraid to walk away in the midst of recruiting. Don't be afraid to, if at any point you feel like this isn't a good fit for whatever reason, feel free to be like, you know what? Let's talk about some other places that you might be able to serve, because we are all the body of Christ, but we are not all the hands of Christ. Some of us are the pancreas of Christ and we need to act like it. Okay. So I'm going to stop there for now. I think. Yeah, I'm good. I'm going to stop there for now. Niche will be back with us this afternoon. And we are really going to get our hands dirty with some stuff, guys. So be prepared when you come back to talk more. I'm just going to tell you that right now, because you're going to get to practice some stuff. And practicing with me and Nisha is always super fun. If you've never had the chance to practice recruiting with us, we do give you the worst case scenarios. So try out. So should I close with prayer, or Pastor Francis, are you going to do that? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I can do that. I just wanted to, first and foremost, I just wanted to thank you, Katrina and Darnisha. So grateful for all the information. I know many of us have written down some notes, and I know in my church we are really trying to instill leadership, and so you've definitely given me some food for thought, and I know it's the same for everyone. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again. I believe it will be at is it 3 or 3:30? Do you know?
I want to say 3:30.
I think you're right. You know what? Let me just confirm that. I'm trying to find my file here. Oh boy.
It is 3:30.
Okay, beautiful. We'll see you guys at 3:30. Let's close for prayer. And as we all transition to lunch or perhaps another session, we look forward to seeing you at 3:30. Father in heaven, it's exciting to do ministry, and it's exciting to just get input from people outside of our common circles and bubbles. And Lord, we are grateful for these two pastors who have just taken some of their own precious time to come and minister to us. We have a special thought for Darnisha, who is ministering to a family at this time who have lost a loved one. Be with her, be with them, as they try to come to grips with that reality. Bless us, I pray, in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Bye, everyone. We'll see you guys a little later.